My name is Michael Evan, and like all names, it carries meaning. Michael, a defender of the good, a protector of faith, a warrior of light. Evan, a gift, grace given in youth, a messenger shaped by mercy. I have always felt the ancient blueprint moving through me, the blue ray, the blue lightning, the blue flame, blue as the ocean and the sky, blue as the eyes that reflect the soul when it reawakens. A rebel spirit cannot be domesticated. It cannot be crucified into conformity. Some hearts are born to disrupt what is stagnant, because transformation is holy. When I review the path that led me here, the synchronicities are everywhere. It began with a painful collision with the education system, an early recognition that something was missing, something essential. I watched greed harden into policy. I watched power protect itself. I watched starvation and displacement become headlines. People scrolled past without stopping. Corruption here, injustice there, and the same question kept returning. Why is the world built this way? I believed we cannot solve an equation if we refuse to name the problem. But the deeper I searched, the more the world seemed saturated with negativity, so loud it could drown a person. People didn't want to look beneath the surface, not because they were evil, but because truth can be heavy. Human nature resists what threatens its comforts. That resistance pushed me inward, toward the esoteric, toward the spiritual sciences, toward truths that don't fit neatly inside approved narratives. And that is where the real journey began, not toward escape, but toward awakening. The slow ignition of human consciousness, one life at a time. To go any further, a shift in perspective is required. Our society is like a puzzle box spilled across a table. The lid is missing, the image is scattered. The pieces are everywhere, thrown outward like a private Big Bang. You can almost feel the aftermath, like some unseen struggle happened here. A fight for control, a fight for meaning, a fight for the pieces themselves. And now we stand over the mess, trying to remember what we were meant to build. There is an old Egyptian blessing. May you always drink from the Nile. On the surface, it honors the river that made life possible. But the blessing is also metaphysical. May you remain aligned with the living current, those higher energies that flow like water through the crown, down the spine, and into every channel where life moves. The Nile is more than a river. It is memory. It is witness. It is a mother with stories in her bloodstream, pouring through centuries, through creation cycles, through evaporation and rain, through the endless return of the water that never truly leaves. Water teaches without speaking. It filters through earth until it becomes clear. It gathers pressure until it erupts as a geyser. It rises as mist and returns as rain. It feeds roots, crops, animals, and bodies. It moves through soil as if the planet itself is breathing. Water is life, and life is movement. It is also emotion, tidal, lunar, magnetic. It pulls on the heart the way the moon pulls the sea. Spirit too is fluid, capable of taking shape without losing its essence. That, I believe, is by design. Source is not rigid. Source is living. It enters everything because it can become anything. When the cup is empty, we seek water. When the soul is empty, we seek God. And just as water exists in seasons, liquid, vapor, ice, so does the spirit. In winter, something in us goes still. We survive, we tighten, we conserve, but the life force remains, resting beneath the surface, waiting. Then spring arrives, warmth breaching from above, and the frozen places crack. The river returns to motion, the flow reclaims its strength. If you are in winter, if you are merely surviving, remember, you are not only the frostbitten version of yourself. Let the light in. Let the warmth touch the places you hid. Let the scent of spring enter your lungs like a new permission to live. And when obstacles appear, do what water does. Don't panic. Don't harden. Flow. Dissolve what can be dissolved. Wear down what cannot. Move around what resists. Keep going. God speaks in metaphor because truth has many doors. We do not see the world as it is, we see it as we are. Metaphor meets each person where they can receive. It is language that bypasses defense and goes straight to recognition. The message is often right in front of us. We only have to learn how to see. I have come to believe that our inner life is built the way cities are built, brick by brick. Experience, exposure, understanding. These are the materials. And when we gather them with intention, something begins to rise within us. An architecture of wisdom, a temple. Education in its purest form is not memorization. It is construction. Foundations laid inside the self. Seeds planted. Corridors formed. A place strong enough to hold fear without collapsing, and warm enough to hold grief without becoming cold. In difficult times, return there. Remember what you built. Remember the love that held the weight. Remember the reason you kept going. The body is not merely flesh. It is the temple of spirit, a quantum instrument designed for experience. Within it, the life force dances through time like something eternal, like something that refuses to be extinguished. Stand still long enough to feel it. The electrons in your cells, the quiet hum of being alive, the echo of dreams moving through the dark. Dreams are not lost. They are only misplaced, abandoned by those who stopped seeking. Retrieve them. The heart is not decoration. It is compass. It pulls on the spirit like a magnet and aligns us with what the soul came here to experience. The mind is brilliant, but it is not the master. The heart is the guidance system humanity forgets, then rediscovers when life breaks our illusions. Love is not a conclusion. It is a frequency, and the path unravels from it. We are the pathfinders. We are not normal, not because we are better, but because change begins with divergence. The first spark is always the one that refuses to accept a dead world as final. To the imaginative, to the creative, to those who feel the ache of a new earth before they can explain it, your imagination is not childish. It is evidence of connection. Creation begins in the mind's eye, but the idea does not originate in isolation. The idea arrives. We become conduits in free will, and when we bring imagination into form, we feel it. Energy moving, emotion in motion. The Holy Spirit translated into the human nervous system. The act of creation strengthens our bond with Source because it trains us to listen, to receive, to translate the invisible into the visible. A painting is proof. A single person may hold the brush, but the inspiration belongs to everyone. Love poured into an object remains inside it. Across time it radiates, touching strangers, changing moods, awakening memory. That is the purpose of creation, to transmit something eternal through temporary form. Welcome to the heart's work. Everything made with love carries the Christ light. Fear can mimic productivity, but it cannot create, because fear blocks the channel. When you're in true flow, you're not forcing life, you're cooperating with it. You are letting the Creator move through you. If you are creative, it is not your creativity. It is the Creator within you speaking through your hands. This is the doorway most people overlook because it seems too simple. But truth is often simple before it becomes deep. If you are a musician, play. If you are a writer, write. If you are an artist, begin. Messy, imperfect, untrained if necessary. The point is not perfection. The point is communion. Brush stroke by brush stroke, the masterpiece assembles itself. And how do you know when it is complete? You don't know with the mind alone. You know with the inner yes, with the quiet satisfaction that arrives when the energy has fully delivered its message. Energy works like breath. You give to receive. The act of creation is giving. The fire that rises afterward is receiving. Over time, you learn the feeling. You learn the signature. You learn to recognize God, not as a distant concept, but as the living frequency inside your own joy. Without language, we would still understand reality through sensation, through vibration, through energy. We name it creativity, and sometimes forget what it really is. It is the God inside, moving. Going within does not mean escaping life. It means removing the ego from the driver's seat and letting deeper intelligence speak. Our culture treats the ego as enemy. But the ego is not meant to be destroyed. It is meant to be cleansed, remolded, and reattached to the higher self. It is the avatar. It is the interface. It panics because it thinks it is alone. Humanity builds invisible fences inside the mind. Psychology names compartments: conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Those maps can be useful, but they become prisons if we treat them as walls. You are not a small island. You are a whole system. The mind is not the source. It is a receiver, like a radio tuned to a station it can barely remember. The heart is the transmitter. And when the receiver finally turns toward the heart, life changes. Spirit begins to speak, and you realize it was your own deeper self all along, locked away by distraction, fear, and the mistaken belief that God is outside you. Step out of your own way. That is the wisdom of the ancients. Use the mind as a tool, not a throne. Each person must discover their own truth. No one can hand it to you fully assembled. And ironically, the more you awaken, the more the illusion of separation dissolves. You begin to sense that what you call me is only one angle of a larger whole. But awakening is rarely gentle. It often begins in breaking. Trauma is not holy, but it can become a portal when it forces us to search for what we ignored. Many of the people we call spiritual teachers were first shattered, not because suffering is required, but because comfort rarely motivates transformation. I know what it feels like to act out, physically, vocally, emotionally, in ways that embarrass you afterward. I know what it feels like to become a question mark to people who thought they knew you. I also know this. Sometimes the breakdown is your only language for asking for help when pride won't let you ask in words. I tried to return to normal, but the purpose was never to return. The second wave hit. Job, home, relationship, confidence, gone. The added weight of probation, the collapse of the life I used to defend. I finally surrendered, not as defeat, but as honesty. Enough. And in that breaking, I tasted a truth my old life could not provide. It felt like a plan unfolding, something I'd sensed since adolescence. I searched outward first, chasing explanations in the world. Sometimes I crossed lines, sometimes I missed, but underneath it all was the same intuition. Something is being hidden, something is holding us back. Eventually I understood. Yes, the outer world is chaotic, but the chaos that destroys us most efficiently is the chaos within. When we are led by the mind without the heart, we keep looking for external answers to internal wounds. I am not perfect. Perfection is an illusion. What matters is what I learned. Truth isn't only a political problem or a societal problem. It is a human problem. It lives in our interior. When the false story collapses, when the identity you perform dissolves, you finally see what was always there. Not an enemy, not a monster, just you, waiting to be met by the light. Love changes the body. It changes the nervous system. It changes what can remain inside you. Shame and hatred can't hold their structure in the presence of genuine love, because love is coherence. The body is meant to be balanced, heart and mind united, energy centers aligned. But when the heart closes, the mind takes over. It begins burying burdens it cannot transmute. It builds walls to silence echoes. It becomes a cage built from old failures. And then comes the simplest truth I can offer. Your mind doesn't have the answer. Your deeper self does. The insane part is only insane to a culture trained to distrust its own inner intelligence. Imagine a child afraid at night. A room becomes a theater for shadow, a monster invented by fear. Then the child opens the door and the hallway light pours in. He looks under the bed. Nothing is there. Upstairs, his family is laughing, alive, waiting. Safety was always available. He simply had to open the door. That is what inner work is. Wisdom is not always knowing why. Wisdom is recognizing what is. So speak, create, illuminate. Be the change you keep praying for. Some call Earth a living library. Whether you approach that spiritually, symbolically, or literally, the message is the same. Earth is not a dead rock. She is alive, systemic, intelligent, responsive. What we call the electromagnetic grid can be understood as more than physics. It is a field of relationship, a shared medium through which life resonates. Indigenous traditions describe this not as metaphor, but as lived experience, communication with elements, ceremony, rhythm, coherence with nature. Modern humanity often calls that primitive. I call it advanced. Our arrogance is not intelligence, it is disconnection. We struggle to consider consciousness outside the human form because the ego prefers to be alone at the top. But life does not operate as a hierarchy of worth. It operates as a network of participation, one source expressing through countless forms. To rediscover psychic ability is not necessarily to become supernatural. It is to remember the language beyond words, resonance, intuition, pattern, communion. And with that remembrance comes responsibility. Humanity carries immense impact. We can behave like parasites, or we can behave like healing cells. We can drain the host or restore it. The most powerful currency in the cosmos is not money, it is love, coherent frequency, heart intelligence, source in motion. Across many traditions, there exists a figure who reverses the norm. The sacred clown, the contrarian, the one who exposes truth by moving opposite to the crowd. In Lakota and Dakota tradition, this archetype is the Heyoka, a mirror held up to the tribe, forcing people to see what they avoid. There is also the prophecy of White Buffalo Calf Woman, a message carried through generations. When the white buffalo appears, it signals profound change. Blessing and warning, hope and responsibility, a call for unity and care for the earth. 2 nights ago, I had a vision. I was the white buffalo, cloaked in disguise, guided by ancestors into a pasture that was not mine. It was fenced, confined, filled not with buffalo but cattle, cousins bred to believe the boundary is freedom. And I recognized the tragedy immediately, a herd living inside a scripted fate. My mission, in the vision, was not conquest. It was awakening, to walk among them as one of them, to remind them of what exists beyond the fences, to teach the memory of true freedom, open land, self-direction, sovereign movement, the strength of unity. Because the crisis on Earth is never one issue, it is always holistic. External collapse mirrors internal collapse, and the only solution large enough for a global challenge is a global evolution. Humanity learning to unite, not as ideology, but as survival, then as love. Planets have bodies, they have fields. They can weaken, they can lose coherence. And when a world loses its protective balance, life suffers. The warning is not meant to terrify, it is meant to awaken responsibility. When it comes to love, I refuse to worship the lower details, the fear, the damage, the distortions we inherit as humans. The universe does not respond to requests the way a store fills orders. It responds to frequency. Your emotional state is a beacon. You radiate whether you intend to or not. The world mirrors what you hold. And if you want a different reality, you must change what you broadcast. I have felt what it means to know someone energetically, to recognize a soul without needing language. From that vantage point, shame loses its authority. Sin becomes lesson, not identity. The spirit underneath remains untouched. When I write, something happens that feels like a threshold. My mind lags behind my knowing. Words arrive as if from the clouds. My hands move faster than my conscious planning. Then, suddenly, I return to the room when I sense I missed something. Consciousness snaps back like a seatbelt. It reminds me of driving while daydreaming, arriving miles later, unable to recall the road. Then brake lights flash ahead, and the autopilot disengages instantly. The body noticed what the mind ignored. Writing is like that for me. The flow continues until something requires my attention. Then I snap back, reread, and feel awe. Not at being special, but at what humans are capable of when the channel is clean. There is a power in the night. Night releases me from the machinery of conventional schooling, the rote learning, the standardized metrics, the narrow models that train children to obey schedules before they learn to know themselves. Much of what we call education is not education. It is conditioning. It prepares people for monotony. It rewards conformity. It punishes creative divergence. It teaches children to chase approval before they discover their inner compass. True education is personal. It is alive. It follows curiosity. It respects the unique design of each learner. And it must include emotional intelligence, the literacy of the heart. Music, for example, is not merely entertainment. It is social medicine. It evokes belonging. It activates memory. It becomes worship without needing a sanctuary. Real education does not produce compliant workers. It produces whole humans. There are gaps in mainstream science, these pockets of silence around spirituality, consciousness, and the deeper mechanics of human experience. That doesn't automatically mean there's some conspiracy, but it does mean limitation. Institutions, they often defend what they can measure and just ignore what threatens their authority. Science always begins in theory. Theory becomes discovery. Discovery becomes truth. But if we refuse to explore consciousness, if we treat spirit as taboo, then we're basically handing our inner development to systems built for profit and power, rather than actual human flourishing. Imagine if even just a fraction of the world's war funding was redirected into healing, education, clean water, and human development. Imagine the brightest minds building life instead of perfecting destruction. I'm not condemning science, I'm condemning imbalance. True spirituality, as I use the word, is not dogma. It's not fanaticism. It's not religion used as a weapon. It's the core truth beneath all paths, unity consciousness, supported by sacred science, psychology, medicine, and the honest study of emotion and awareness. This inner education is not optional. It's the missing architecture of a healthy society. A person with a calm mind and an open heart stops searching the outer world for the inner thing it cannot give. And that shift alone, it changes everything. Relationships, leadership, policy, and culture. We do not need less intelligence. We need more integration, heart and mind, logic and creativity, structure and freedom, masculine and feminine energies, not as gender but as balance. We rise when we unite what we split. There are places on Earth where resource wealth sits in the ground, yet the people live in poverty and war. Often the story is explained as tribal conflict or internal failure. Sometimes that's part of it. But there's also a darker pattern, instability that benefits outsiders. When governance collapses, a vacuum forms. Warlords rise. Conflict becomes currency. And while civilians suffer, resources flow outward. Cheap, controlled, and protected by chaos. This isn't a condemnation of any one nation. It's a warning about a system. When profit is prioritized over people, instability becomes strategy. And that is why I hold a vision. One that's controversial, one that's ambitious, but rooted in a single desire. A global humanitarian alliance, not built to conquer, but to protect, heal, and build. A force with discipline, logistics, and reach, able to respond anywhere, fast. Not an empire, not a weapon, a shield. a structure with divisions like diplomacy, engineering, medicine, agriculture, and disaster relief. A deployable humanitarian corps, air, sea, and land, supporting nations that lack leverage, protecting sovereignty, helping build infrastructure, and preventing the exploitation that just thrives in weakness. Capitalism is not evil, but unchecked power becomes blind, and when a system grows so large it forgets its ethics, it becomes predatory. Prosperity is a right, but prosperity without moral discipline becomes corruption. Then a vision opens, like a breach in darkness. A fire burns in the night, and I stand near it, as if I have always belonged there. Light moves outward in waves. The land feels unfamiliar, yet deeply known, like a memory coded into my blood. I pace the circumference of the flame, and I realize they are not waiting for someone else. They are waiting for me. Children sit in a circle, silent and attentive, their faces lit by the fire. Their eyes are wide with curiosity, the pure kind, the kind that has not yet been trained to mock mystery. And then I begin to speak. The words arrive like prophecy, like transmission, flowing through me into them, planting seeds. Not seeds of obedience, but seeds of imagination, seeds of courage, seeds of inner architecture. The fire becomes a classroom, the night becomes a temple, education becomes cosmic, because the future is not only built with facts, it is built with spirit. These children are the sparks that ignite what comes next, and the greatest gift we can offer them is not control, but reconnection to their origins, their inner intelligence, their creative power, their capacity to build worlds from within and bring them into form. You are more than a body trapped in matter. You are memory. You are potential. You are lineage. And the universe, silent, vast, alive, waits for your call. The angels have always been with you. They exist as higher dimensional energies, beyond our ordinary understanding of space and time. Time, as we experience it, belongs to denser realms, the physical world, the measurable world, the world of sequence and limitation. But in higher states of being, presence is not confined to one location or one moment. It can be everywhere at once. When these beings, if we choose to call them beings, touch our reality directly, it is rare, profound, and often described in scripture and testimony, not as a fully physical arrival, but as a manifestation of light, an energetic state, a quantum state, a form merciful enough to meet humanity without overwhelming us, a diplomatic offering of peace, because awe can become fear when the mind cannot comprehend what it's seeing. The angelic realm is said to exist closer to pure light, a cleaner, more coherent frequency of divine energy. And if that is true, then every descent into a lower density is an act of devotion, a sacrifice of altitude, a brief surrender of the unbroken intimacy they hold with Source. A being from a lower dimension cannot simply climb into a higher one without transformation, without the rigorous inner work required. But a being from a higher dimension can descend into ours. Yet even that descent has a cost, a temporary reduction of clarity, purity, and connection, undertaken, if it happens at all, out of love for life itself. I honor that courage. Imagine what it requires to step into this world, the violence, the confusion, the weight of human suffering, and remain radiant. To walk through the smoke of our atrocities and still carry grace. This is why the angelic realm so often speaks through synchronicity instead of spectacle, through patterns, symbols, timing, and invisible alignments. And if you follow those alignments, if you walk the path of synchronicity with sincerity, your connection strengthens. It becomes clearer, closer, more personal. It can move into the territory the ancients called philosophy, communion with wisdom itself. What we might now call telepathy, channeling, or direct knowing. Angelic communication does not always arrive as voices the way humans speak to humans. Instead, their presence blends with the human biofield, the toroidal current of electromagnetic information that surrounds and interpenetrates the body, often called the aura. In that meeting, the separation thins. It becomes less like two beings standing beside each other, and more like a shared frequency, human consciousness entangled with divine energy. Wisdom arrives as coexistence. Thought itself, in this view, is not merely chemical reaction. It is energy, contained, shaped, and interpreted through the nervous system. The brain becomes a receiver, a translator. And this is where ancient names return. Thoth, Atlantean, Egyptian, archetypal, appears across cultures, across eras, across human memory. Different forms, same signature, the bringer of knowledge, wisdom, and truth. The architect behind civilizations, the one who lifts villages into flourishing societies, leaving modern historians puzzled at the sudden leaps. How survival became system, how primitive life became metropolis, how order appeared as if delivered from beyond the timeline. Whether Thoth is understood as a being, a lineage, an archetype, or the energy of thought itself, the pattern remains. Wisdom arrives, civilizations rise, and humanity remembers, briefly, what it is capable of. There has been a calling on me since childhood, clean, magnetic, undeniable. A young rebel can feel it before he can name it, the sense that the soul is tethered to a mission, not merely to survive this world, but to help remake it, to channel creative passion into a new earth, into a restored Gaia, not as fantasy, but as blueprint. And the blueprint is not small. It touches everything: education, governance, culture, economy, spirit. It asks for reconstruction, beginning where all true reconstruction begins, within the human being. My deepest drive is not fame, not escape, not performance. It is architecture. To become an architect for humanity, by rebuilding the ancient temple within, by restoring unity consciousness in a world trained to fragment itself. Venusian energy, as I understand it spiritually, is a path of mastery through the soul's perspective, harmony, balance, alignment with the living mother. The puzzle pieces of a better world already exist. What's rare is the willingness to sit at the table and organize the chaos, those with eyes to see the full image before it arrives. Music, too, is part of this calling. In its purest form, music is not entertainment. It is transmission, a cosmic blessing, an outlet of soul expression that reaches beyond the physical and touches the astral. It must carry a message. It must resonate. And when it does, my heart center wakes up, alive again, radiating through every word and harmonic tone. Vibration becomes meaning. Meaning becomes medicine. Some call it being an old soul. Maybe that's just another way of saying the same thing. After enough lifetimes, pain teaches you what matters. And what remains constant through every hardship is the inner oasis, the light of oneness, Christ consciousness, unconditional love. Happiness is a discipline, and it starts now. The cosmic egg appears across cultures as a symbol of beginnings, the birth of worlds, the emergence of new creation, the origin of divine power. To me, it also represents a personal instruction retreat. Look closer, reach deeper, and enter the presence of pure observation. Going within is not weakness, it is not cowardice. It is honestly the opposite, the courage to meet yourself without noise, without performance, without distraction. Our culture often mistakes inner work as unmanly. That misunderstanding is its own symptom, an inherited distortion of strength. Faith is not passive. Faith is action, placing your feet on the path God lays before you, without needing the whole map in advance. Few hear the call, fewer answer. From the outside, my life may look enclosed right now, private, quiet, narrowed down. But that narrowing is not collapse. It is alignment. It is attuning. And I'll give you the simplest image I know for it. When life throws you into the river and panic rises, When you claw at the surface, desperate for air, relax. Take a long, slow breath. Hold it. Let buoyancy lift you. Stop fighting the water long enough to remember. The river will carry you out of the rapids. That is your first test, soldier. Not to overpower the current, but to breathe inside it. Everything returns in cycles. Water becomes cloud, becomes rain, becomes river again. So does the soul. So does wisdom. So does truth. I was shown two goddesses, Isis and Gaia, moving toward me. Not as separate forces, but as expressions of one feminine essence. Mother God, the divine feminine, appearing through two different purposes. With Isis, the experience was sensual, alive, electric, creative. I saw a pregnant belly in my mind's eye, the symbol of creation arriving into form. With Gaia, the energy was guidance, mission, direction, purpose. The aspect of the feminine that pulls futures into existence, shaping the field where collective consciousness can shift. Together, they felt like one message. Creation is coming, and you are being prepared to carry it. Some connections do not feel new, they feel remembered. A soul can recognize its own lineage, its coordinates, so deeply that the call becomes physical, ferocious, precise, as if the body remembers what the mind cannot yet explain. When a soul meets one from its own family, the joy can ache. The recognition can be so loud it feels like it could wake the cosmos. You don't decide it, you know it. And with that knowing comes fear. Not because love is dangerous, but because love is expensive. You wonder what will be taken next, what price this beauty will demand. Yet when I look back, I see that everything taken was replaced with something larger, truer, more aligned. Still, the human part asks, what will I lose to become what I'm meant to be? Two auras, two vortexes, moving like spirals, blue and pink, reaching outward like vines searching for support. Not ending, but extending, seeking, calling. There are unions that do not feel like romance alone. They feel like ritual, ancient, primal, purposeful. A meeting designed to unlock something in the human story. Not ownership, not domination. Leadership through love. Kings and queens who serve their people, never rulers who possess them. I carry the marble memory of ancient Greece, a civilization that worshipped through art, philosophy, and the sciences. Free thought as devotion. I recognize in myself the spirit of the builders, Michelangelo's precision, Da Vinci's brave brilliance, the archetype of architecture